You didn't stumble into this moment by accident. You didn't click play because of habit, or because an algorithm happened to roll the dice in your favor. Something deeper was moving, something far older than chance, more personal than probability. What brought you here is resonance. It is the pull of your own future self, already alive in a timeline just ahead of you, sending a signal that your body and soul could not ignore. It may have looked ordinary on the surface. A thumbnail caught your eye. Your hand moved. The screen lit up. But beneath that simplicity was orchestration, a silent agreement carried from one version of you to another. The algorithm was only the courier. What truly delivered this message was the magnetic coherence between who you have been and who you are about to become. You've felt this before, moments when a book seemed to find you, when a conversation landed with surgical precision, when timing became uncanny. Those were not random either. They were echoes of the same principle: resonance always attracts its own. And right now, your resonance has ripened to the point that it called this exact message into your field. Notice the tug in your chest, that small pulse of recognition that says, "This is for me." That feeling is not a hunch. It is a confirmation. Your soul is whispering, you're on time. You're not running behind. No matter what your mind tells you about delays or detours, nor are you rushing ahead. The arrival point is always exact. This is the first truth of the shift. What looks like coincidence is really convergence. Convergence of your longing with its answer. Convergence of your fatigue with its breakthrough. Convergence of your questions with the resonance of your future self. And you have arrived at this threshold now because you gave permission, at some level permission, to no longer circle the waiting room of destiny. So pause and feel the weight of that. You are not an observer casually passing by. You are the participant who summoned this exchange. Every word that unfolds from here is a mirror. And when you recognize yourself in the reflection, understand it was never about me speaking to you. It has always been you calling yourself forward. You live in a world of overlapping broadcasts. At any given moment, two frequencies are reaching for your attention. One is the signal, the pure tone of your future self. Steady, patient, expansive. The other is static, the restless hum of fear, doubt, and urgency, always trying to convince you that chaos is truth. Most people mistake static for reality and miss the signal that was meant to guide them all along. But you are not most people. You are beginning to notice the difference. Static always feels heavy. It arrives like a swarm of thoughts buzzing in your head, repeating the same phrases until you almost believe them. It shouts, it demands, it criticizes. It says you should have done more. You should be further by now. You cannot trust yourself. You must follow the crowd. The static thrives on urgency, narrowing your vision until all you can see are problems. You feel your chest tighten, your breath shorten, your shoulders tense. That is the fingerprint of static. The signal is different. It does not shout. It whispers. It moves quietly, like a steady current under the surface of the sea. When you hear it, you recognize it by the way it opens space inside you. Even if it points toward something unfamiliar, it carries a calmness that expands your chest, softens your jaw, lengthens your breath. The signal does not argue. It invites. It does not force. It offers. That offering is the language of your future self. Here is the test you can carry into any decision. Ask, does this impulse expand me or contract me? Does it open me or close me? Expansion is the hallmark of the signal. Contraction is the sign of static. This test is simple enough for a child to use, and yet it is profound enough to guide the most complex choices of your life. You already know this in your bones. Your body speaks the truth faster than your mind can calculate it. Imagine yourself as a radio operator standing in a cluttered control room. On one wall are dozens of dials, each connected to a different frequency. Some dials crackle with news loops, fear cycles, memories of wounds you thought you had forgotten. These stations never go silent, but on another dial, one that requires patience and stillness, there is a channel playing music you recognize at the soul level. It is subtle at first, faint notes breaking through the static, but it is yours. That music is your signal. The mind resists this simplicity. It wants elaborate strategies, flowcharts, guarantees. It craves logic that can be measured and defended, but the soul does not speak in spreadsheets. It speaks in resonance. It speaks in the pull of peace, the tug of joy, the gentle expansion that tells you, without explanation, that this way is true. And so your task is not to outthink the static, but to out-attune it. You shift your focus again and again toward what expands you. Start with small decisions. Instead of waiting for the monumental choice, practice with the daily moments. What do you eat for breakfast? Does one option leave you heavy and sluggish while another makes your body feel alive? Which conversation leaves you tight in the gut? And which leaves you lighter, freer? Do you choose to scroll endlessly through noise or to sit in silence and hear your own breath? Every small act of tuning becomes training. Each time you choose expansion, you strengthen your ability to recognize the signal faster. The more you practice, the more fluent you become in this language. At first, it may feel uncertain, like learning to distinguish instruments in a song, but with repetition, your ear sharpens. You hear the difference instantly. You sense the quiet truth beneath the chaos. And then something shifts. The static no longer rules you. It may still hum in the background, but your focus is elsewhere. And where focus goes, energy flows. Where energy flows, reality begins to crystallize. Do not underestimate this. Attention is not neutral. It is creative currency. When you pour your attention into static, you amplify fear. When you pour it into the signal, you amplify destiny. Every moment you redirect your attention is an act of creation. Every choice to honor expansion over contraction reshapes the architecture of your reality. This is not theory, it is practice, and your life is the living proof. So remember this map. Static will always exist. It is part of the human spectrum, but static is not the authority. The signal is, and the signal is yours. Learn its feel, its sound, its rhythm. Practice tuning toward it until it becomes second nature. And when the static rises like a storm, do not panic. Just return to the question, does this expand me or contract me? Does this open me or close me? The answer will always show you the way. You are not stuck. Even if it feels that way, you are standing in the in-between, the quantum corridor, the hallway between two worlds. It is a strange space because both endings and beginnings are happening at once. One version of you is dissolving, another is assembling, and your nervous system is caught in the overlap. That overlap feels like pressure, but pressure is not punishment. It is the sensation of expansion. Think of a seed buried beneath soil. At first, it looks like nothing is happening, but inside the husk, the seed is swelling, breaking apart, pushing against the shell that once protected it. That friction is uncomfortable. If the seed had a voice, it might call it pain, but to the larger intelligence of life, it is growth. The pressure you feel in this corridor is no different. You are swelling with a life too large for the old casing of your identity. This is why the body feels so many contradictions. One day, you wake in crystalline clarity, flooded with vision. Hours later, confusion descends like fog, and you wonder if you imagined it all. This oscillation is not madness. It is metamorphosis. When a caterpillar dissolves into chrysalis soup, its cells fluctuate wildly between breakdown and blueprint. Your system is doing the same, shedding old circuitry while rehearsing the patterns of your future self. Do not judge the fluctuations. They are evidence of a living process. Growth is not a straight line, it is a wave. You rise into possibility, dip into fatigue, rise again with fire, collapse again in doubt. These cycles are not regressions. They are the pulse of rebirth. The quantum corridor breathes you forward in surges and pauses, contractions and expansions. Your task is not to control the rhythm, but to trust it. And here is the paradox. The tighter you grip, the more painful the corridor feels. The more you insist on certainty, the heavier the pressure grows. But when you soften even for a breath, the walls shift. You discover there is spaciousness inside the squeeze. The corridor stretches not because the circumstances change instantly, but because your relationship to the pressure does. You stop calling it punishment and begin naming it practice. Another image, the bow of an archer. When the string is pulled back, every muscle trembles. The tension feels unbearable. But that tension is not the end. It is the preparation. The trembling is the arrow storing potential energy, waiting for release. Right now, you are that arrow. The strain you feel is not failure. It is evidence that momentum is building, that the next phase of your life is already loaded and aimed. Notice how even your emotions mirror this. Fatigue is the husk breaking. Restlessness is the arrow quivering. Impatience is the seed pressing against the soil. Each discomfort is data telling you that your system is adjusting to a larger life. Old patterns no longer fit, and your soul refuses to shrink to accommodate them. The heaviness you feel around outdated relationships or beliefs is simply the corridor showing you what cannot pass through the doorway with you. Here is how to navigate. Treat the corridor like a training ground. When the weight presses in, ask, what strength is being built here? When clarity fades into fog, remind yourself, this is the compost from which vision grows. When you feel caught between excitement and despair, know that you are simply oscillating between two stations until your dial locks onto the new frequency. Nothing is wrong. You are mid-upgrade. And remember, the corridor is temporary. No seed stays underground forever. No arrow remains drawn indefinitely. No butterfly lingers in the chrysalis without breaking through. Every squeeze has an expiration date. The proof is in your very cells, which are constantly renewing, breaking down and building up again. Life itself testifies that transformation is the natural order. The same law is carrying you through now. So breathe in the corridor. Let the pressure remind you that you are expanding. Let the tension tell you that potential is loading. Let the oscillation comfort you that change is already underway. You do not need to escape the hallway, you need only to walk it, breath by breath, until the door ahead opens. And when it does, you will not just step into the next chapter, you will step into the size of your own becoming. This is the hidden gift. The quantum corridor does not just deliver you to a destination. It prepares you to inhabit that destination without shrinking back. It stretches you, strengthens you, sensitizes you, until the future that once seemed too big now feels like home. Pressure is not punishment. Pressure is proof. It means the shell is cracking, the arrow is bending, the wings are forming. It means your future self is not a dream far away. It is pressing against you from the inside, demanding space to be born. Every day, your attention is writing code into the operating system of your reality. You may not see the lines of script, but you feel their effects in the circumstances, relationships, and moods that unfold around you. Attention is not passive. it is not simply noticing. Attention is creative currency. Where it flows, energy grows. Where it withdraws, energy withers. Most people spend this currency unconsciously. They pour it into complaints, into fear, into endless analysis of what could go wrong. Each thought, each fixation is like watering weeds, and then they wonder why the garden of life feels overrun. But you are learning to do something different. You are beginning to realize that every moment of focus is a brushstroke painting the atmosphere of your existence. Notice what happens when you fixate on static. The volume of fear increases. Problems multiply. Your body tightens as though bracing for impact. The world feels hostile because your attention has tuned to hostility. But when you shift your gaze, when you offer even a small measure of focus to peace, gratitude, or joy, the entire texture of your inner world changes. Your muscles loosen, your breathing slows, and suddenly solutions appear where before there were only walls. This is not magic in the sense of breaking the laws of nature. It is magic in the sense of working with them. Just as a magnifying glass can set paper aflame by concentrating light, your attention can ignite transformation by concentrating energy. Scattered light warms a little, focused light burns through. Scattered attention keeps life lukewarm. Focused attention sets destiny ablaze. Here is the practice. Catch yourself when static steals your gaze. Not with shame, not with frustration, but with curiosity. Ask, what am I feeding with my attention right now? Is it what I want more of? If the answer is no, gently redirect. It may feel awkward at first, like steering a heavy ship with a small rudder, but the momentum will follow the movement. With practice, redirection becomes natural. You can begin with 5-second retunings. In the middle of stress, pause, place your hand on your chest. Breathe once, deeply. Choose one feeling: gratitude, calm, or love, and amplify it for 5 seconds. That is all. Those 5 seconds are not trivial. They are reprogramming your field. Do this 5, 10, 20 times in a day, and you will have spent minutes investing in the signal rather than hours pouring fuel on static. This does not mean you ignore pain or pretend problems don't exist. It means you refuse to let them monopolize your currency. A bill arrives. Static says panic. Signal says breathe, ground yourself, and face the next step with clarity. A relationship feels tense. Static says replay the argument endlessly. Signal says pause, feel what you long for, and act from that tone instead. The difference is not denial, it is mastery of focus. And here's the deeper truth: attention does not just shape perception, it shapes matter. Neuroscience shows that synapses strengthen where focus repeats. Physiology reveals that chemicals shift according to what thoughts you entertain. Physics suggests that observation alters the field itself. Every discipline points to the same revelation. Attention is a force of creation. When you give it to the signal, you reinforce the pathways of your future self, carving neural and energetic grooves that reality begins to follow. Of course, the static will test this. Old patterns will flare, demanding center stage. You will be tempted to say, "It's not working," but this is where persistence matters. Imagine tuning an old radio. At first, all you hear is fuzz. Then, faint notes break through. You adjust again, and the music becomes clearer. With each act of patient retuning, the song takes over. The same is true of your life. Each small redirect strengthens the signal until the static is background noise. So do not underestimate the quiet pivots. 5 seconds of gratitude instead of 5 minutes of worry. One deep breath instead of one harsh reaction. A single choice to bless rather than curse. These are not minor, they are micro investments compounding into a future that feels radically different. Attention is the currency of creation, and with every conscious transaction, you are building a reality that matches the resonance of your future self. Remember this: your attention is always voting. Each thought, each fixation, each moment of focus is a ballot cast for the world you are choosing. Do not hand your ballot to static by default. Place it deliberately into the hands of your signal. Again and again, moment by moment, let your focus become the brush that paints your tomorrow. And when the day feels heavy, when the noise seems overwhelming, return to the simplest of questions. Where is my attention right now? That single inquiry is the steering wheel of destiny. Grip it gently, turn it toward expansion, and watch your life reorganize around the frequency you choose to fund. Your body is not just a passenger on this journey. It is the antenna that receives the signal of your future self. Without safety in the body, even the clearest resonance cannot land. The signal becomes distorted, like music played through broken speakers. That is why the first step in embodiment is not chasing visions with the mind, but creating safety in the flesh. Think of your body as a broadcasting tower. When it is tense, hunched, braced for danger, the tower is bent, rusty, unreliable. The signal warps and cuts in and out. But when your body relaxes, opens, softens, the tower stands tall and clear. Frequencies transmit without interference. What you call intuition, clarity, or guidance often depends less on mystical fireworks and more on whether your nervous system feels safe enough to hear. Safety does not mean the absence of challenge. It means the presence of support. It means teaching your body, moment by moment, that openness will not lead to annihilation. For many people, the body equates familiarity with safety, even when the familiar hurts. That is why you may find yourself pulled back to old habits, toxic cycles, or limiting environments. Your biology would rather cling to pain it knows than risk the unknown it has not tested. But the signal of your future self requires a new baseline of safety. So how do you create this baseline? Begin with the simplest instrument you have, breath. Conscious breath is the oldest technology of safety. When you inhale slowly through the nose and let the exhale lengthen beyond the inhale, you are sending a direct message to your nervous system. You are safe. This slows the heart rate, lowers stress chemistry, and opens the inner antenna. Breath is not just air, it is signal alignment. Next, notice posture. Survival hunches the shoulders, locks the jaw, narrows the gaze. Expansion lifts the chest, softens the jaw, widens the eyes. These subtle shifts are not cosmetic, they are codes. Every posture broadcasts to your cells, whether you are in contraction or expansion. Place a hand over your sternum, roll your shoulders back, and breathe into the space you just created. You are rewriting the dictionary of safety in real time. Add to this the power of touch. Place your palm against your heart or belly and wait until you feel the warmth meet you back. That simple gesture anchors your awareness in the body. It reassures the system that presence is here. Do this in moments of static and you will feel the noise soften, not because the world outside has changed, but because the antenna inside has tuned more clearly. Safety also grows through naming. When sensations rise, tight throat, fluttering stomach, restless legs, don't rush to interpret them as disaster. Label them as data. This is activation. This is energy moving. By naming without judgment, you disarm the panic that would otherwise multiply. You treat the body not as an enemy to be controlled, but as an ally offering feedback. And allies can be trusted. Practice this re-education daily. Pause 3 times a day to breathe, adjust posture, and name one sensation with neutrality. Over time, your body learns that expansion is survivable, even preferable. Slowly, safety and openness become synonyms in your system. This shift is revolutionary, because when the body feels safe, it no longer resists the signal of your future self. It receives it like clear radio waves, unbroken, undeniable. And here is the gift when you embody safety. You do not only change your inner state, you change the field around you. Others feel it. Rooms feel calmer when you enter. Conversations soften. Environments begin to mirror the steadiness you carry. This is not imagination. Co-regulation is a biological fact. Your nervous system speaks to others as surely as your words do. By anchoring safety in yourself, you become a tuning fork for everyone around you. Remember, your future self is not trying to drop ideas into a chaotic, frightened vessel. It is transmitting continuously, waiting for a clear receiver. That receiver is your body. Each time you breathe deeply, release tension, place your hand to your chest. You polish the antenna. Each act of safety is not small. It is cosmic maintenance, ensuring that the music of your destiny can be heard without distortion. So let safety come first. Before you push, pause. Before you strive, soften. Before you analyze, breathe. Your body is not behind in this transformation. It is leading. It is showing you that true progress is measured not by how hard you clench, but by how deeply you allow yourself to relax into openness. In that openness, the signal is undeniable. In that openness, your future self feels close enough to touch. Your future self does not communicate only through thought. It speaks through feeling, through the emotional states that rise in your chest and ripple through your body. Emotion is not random weather. It is signal amplification. If attention is the dial that tunes the station, emotion is the speaker that turns the volume up. It makes the resonance undeniable. Think about gratitude. When you let even a small wave of gratitude fill your chest, the signal of your future self grows louder. Gratitude is not an accessory, it is a magnet. It aligns your cells with coherence. When you feel it not as a polite idea, but as a swelling warmth, you are literally shaping the chemistry of your body and the frequency of your field. The future you long for stops being a distant hope and becomes a present vibration. The same is true for joy. Joy is not childish or frivolous. It is sophisticated technology. Joy broadcasts to the quantum field that you already live in abundance. And the field responds. Your posture shifts. Your voice carries differently. Your choices bend toward openness. Joy is not a reward at the end of transformation. It is the power source that fuels transformation itself. And love is the master key. Love dissolves static faster than analysis ever could. When you choose love, even quietly, even in the privacy of your own breath, the frequency of fear cannot hold. Love expands every cell, like sunlight dissolving mist. This is why your future self speaks most clearly when your heart is softened. It is not weakness. It is strength of the highest order. So how do you work with emotion as amplifier? Begin with rehearsal. Each day, set aside a few minutes to generate an elevated state on purpose. Close your eyes, breathe deeply, and choose a memory that evokes gratitude, or imagine a possibility that fills you with joy. Let the feeling swell until it spreads from chest to limbs, until your whole body hums with it. Then, without trying to cling, release it into the field. This is rehearsal. Each time you do it, you are telling your nervous system, this is home, this is safe, this is me. At first, the practice may feel artificial. The mind will whisper, you are making this up. But the field does not care whether gratitude comes from memory, imagination, or present moment. What matters is that you feel it. The biology shifts the same way. The frequency amplifies the same way. And with repetition, the feeling stops being forced. It becomes accessible, like a song you can hum without effort. This does not mean suppressing difficult emotions. Anger, sadness, and fear have their place as signals, but they are not meant to be permanent homes. They are weather fronts passing through. Amplification happens when you let gratitude, love, or joy become your climate. Difficult feelings visit, but elevated states anchor. Over time, the visits grow shorter and the anchors grow stronger. Here is a daily protocol morning. Before reaching for your phone, take 3 minutes. Breathe. Recall one thing, no matter how small, that stirs gratitude. Let it spread until you can feel it in your skin. Midday, when fatigue hits, choose joy. Play a song. Stretch your body. Remember a moment that made you laugh until your chest opens. Evening, before sleep, rest your hand on your heart and summon love, not the abstract word, but the felt warmth of caring for someone or something deeply. These small rehearsals compound, and the effect multiplies. Emotional amplification sends ripples into the field. Synchronicities begin to appear. Opportunities align. Conversations open. What looked like coincidence reveals itself as confirmation. The field mirrors the state you broadcast. Emotion is not decoration, it is declaration. Remember, the static will always try to steal the spotlight. It will tempt you to dwell on what is missing, what is broken, what is frightening. But each time you choose to amplify gratitude over complaint, joy over cynicism, love over fear, you are not just uplifting yourself. You are adjusting the architecture of your future. You are strengthening the pathways that allow your future self to come closer. So honor emotion as the amplifier it is. Attention tunes the station. Emotion raises the volume. Together, they make the music of your destiny impossible to ignore. Feel deeply, practice deliberately, and know that every genuine wave of gratitude, joy, or love is not wasted. It is energy invested in becoming the person your soul already knows you are. By now, you know the difference between signal and static, and you have tasted the power of attention and emotion. But knowing is not enough. The next task is stewardship. Stewardship means becoming the guardian of your own dial, learning how to retune when old stations flare up, without panic, without shame, and without surrendering your sovereignty. The static does not vanish forever. It is part of the human spectrum. Memories resurface, fears reappear, old reflexes of self-doubt wake up like ghosts in the night. To expect their total disappearance is to set yourself up for despair. The goal is not elimination, but mastery. Mastery means that when the static returns, you recognize it for what it is: background noise, not the voice of authority. Picture yourself sitting at a control board with a dial in your hand. Static bursts in suddenly anxiety about money, a flash of shame, an argument replaying in your mind. In that moment, you have a choice. You can grip the dial tighter and curse the noise, which only locks you into it, or you can calmly retune. Retuning does not require drama. It requires presence. One breath, one question, one shift. The breath comes first. Exhale fully, as if you are clearing the clutter from the room. Then inhale deeply, inviting a new frequency into your chest. The question follows: does this open me or close me? That question is the hand on the dial. If the answer is contraction, you know you are tuned to static. If the answer is expansion, you know you are aligned with signal. The shift is the decision to redirect your attention toward expansion, gratitude, love, peace, or simply the felt sense of safety in your body. This practice transforms how you relate to difficulty. Instead of battling static, you begin to thank it. Yes, thank it, because static reveals where you are still vulnerable to old programs. It is feedback, not failure. It is the body telling you, here is where more safety, more compassion, more presence is needed. By thanking the static, you disarm it. You stop feeding it power with your resistance, and you reclaim the dial with calm authority. Stewardship also means releasing the role of judge. Too often, when static surges, you condemn yourself. I should be past this by now. But judgment is just another form of static. The true steward says, I notice this, I choose differently. No drama, no self-punishment, just redirection. The more you practice, the faster the redirection becomes. What once trapped you for days might now dissolve in minutes. Another image, imagine a lighthouse on a stormy coast. Waves crash, winds howl, darkness swallows the sky. But the light keeps turning, steady, unwavering. The storm does not extinguish it. The lighthouse does not rage against the waves. It simply continues to shine. Stewardship is becoming that lighthouse. Your dial is the light. Static is the storm. Your job is not to eliminate storms, but to keep the light turning no matter the weather. Here is a ritual you can use when static appears. Pause, breathe, thank it, retune, and act from the signal. Write these steps down if you must. Make them your mantra. Pause, breathe, thank, retune, act. With repetition, this becomes automatic. You stop fearing static because you know you have tools to meet it. Fear of static is often worse than static itself. When you trust your stewardship, the fear fades and the signal grows louder. And stewardship is not a solitary act. Every time you retune, you strengthen the collective field. Imagine thousands of others practicing the same ritual. Each act of redirection adds coherence to the human network. This is how movements of awakening spread, not through massive declarations, but through countless quiet retunings by ordinary people choosing to honor their signal over static. You are part of that movement every time you turn the dial. Finally, remember that stewardship is not perfection. You will sometimes linger in static longer than you wanted. You will sometimes forget to breathe or forget to ask the question. That is not failure, that is practice. What matters is not how often you fall into static, but how quickly and gently you return to the signal. Mastery is not measured in avoidance, but in return. So guard the dial with love. Hold it not with fear, but with reverence. Retune not with violence, but with grace. Become the lighthouse in your own storm, and know that every time you return to expansion, you affirm to the universe, I am a steward of my own frequency. I am trustworthy with the music of my destiny. And nothing, not fear, not memory, not static, can take that stewardship from me. You may think this journey is only about you, your choices, your tuning, but resonance does not stop at the edge of your skin. Every shift you make ripples outward. Every time you retune to signal, you are not only adjusting your life, you are contributing to the coherence of the collective field. This is the mystery and the gift. Your personal practice is planetary service. Science has its own way of describing this. Biologists call it co-regulation. Physicists call it entrainment. Spiritual traditions call it communion. Different languages, same reality, human beings sync to one another. Nervous systems mirror nervous systems. Heartbeats align in shared rhythm. Breathing slows when we sit together in calm. You have felt this. Enter a room buzzing with panic, and your body tightens. Enter a space of calm, and your body exhales before a word is spoken. This is collective resonance at work. Now imagine thousands, millions, choosing to tune to the signal of their future selves. Each one becomes a small lighthouse, and together they form a coastline of light. The fog of fear may still drift in, but it cannot overwhelm such radiance. The more of us who retune, the easier it becomes for others to find their own dial. This is not metaphor only, it is physics of coherence. Frequencies amplify when aligned. The field stabilizes when enough hearts beat in rhythm. This is why your practice matters more than you know. When you breathe deeply, you are not only regulating your own nervous system, you are offering stability to everyone around you. When you choose gratitude in traffic instead of anger, you are subtly shifting the field of every car nearby. When you sit in silence and align with love, you are broadcasting that frequency into a web of connections more vast than your mind can track. Consider the image of a choir. One voice alone is fragile, but when many voices sing the same note, a resonance builds that can shake walls. Your voice matters, your frequency matters. Even if you feel small, your coherence adds to the collective chord. Without you, the song is incomplete. With you, the harmony strengthens. Here is a practice once a day. Pause and imagine yourself breathing in rhythm with countless others across the planet who are also choosing signal. You do not need to know their names or faces. Trust that they exist, drawn by the same call. As you inhale, imagine light filling your chest. As you exhale, imagine that light extending outward, joining with theirs. This visualization is not fantasy. It is a conscious participation in the web of coherence. And notice how this dissolves loneliness. The ego insists you are alone in your struggle. But the moment you remember the collective, you feel companionship. Others are walking corridors of their own. Others are practicing breath, retuning, amplifying gratitude. You are not a solitary seeker. You are a member of a vast symphony rehearsing the future together. Do not underestimate the subtle power of this. Collective coherence is not loud. It does not dominate headlines. It builds quietly, in living rooms, in silent prayers, in breaths taken by people you will never meet. Yet its influence is enormous. Fear spreads quickly, but so does peace. Anxiety is contagious, but so is calm. Every moment you choose expansion, you release a ripple of permission for others to do the same. And here is the paradox: focusing on collective coherence does not dilute your individuality. It deepens it. A violin does not lose its tone by joining an orchestra. It becomes more itself, resonating within a larger harmony. In the same way, your unique frequency matters even more when it contributes to the whole. The field does not ask you to disappear. It asks you to shine steadily so others can find their way. So widen the frame of your practice. When you breathe, breathe for more than yourself. When you feel gratitude, let it spill outward. When you summon love, imagine it strengthening the fabric of humanity. This is not abstract idealism. It is physics of resonance and biology of regulation. You are not an isolated being. You are a node in a living web, and your frequency helps stabilize the entire design. Remember this whenever you feel powerless. Remember it when the news overwhelms you. Remember it when your personal challenges seem unbearable. Every breath you take in coherence is a contribution. Every act of stewardship strengthens the network. You are not only transforming your life, you are helping to tilt the balance of the collective field toward wholeness. So practice with reverence, practice with joy, practice knowing that each time you retune, you are both student and teacher, receiver and transmitter. You are part of something far greater than yourself. And the music of that greater whole is waiting to be sung through you. Grand visions and elevated states mean little if they cannot travel with you into ordinary hours. Integration is where resonance proves itself, not in the silence of meditation alone, but in the noise of daily life. Your future self does not ask you to escape the world. It asks you to embody signal in the middle of the world. Integration begins with speech. Words are carriers of frequency. Every sentence you speak either amplifies static or stabilizes signal. Notice the difference between saying, "I am always exhausted," and saying, "I am learning to rest." One cements contraction, the other invites expansion. When you gossip, complain, or curse your path, you are voting for static. When you bless, encourage, or speak gratitude, you are voting for signal. Language is not trivial. It is transmission. Next comes what you allow into your body. Food is frequency. Environments are frequency. Media is frequency. Each one leaves residue. If you binge noise, your field vibrates with noise. If you consume with reverence, your field steadies. This does not mean perfection or rigidity. It means stewardship. It means choosing what nourishes rather than what numbs. You are building a vessel strong enough to carry signal without distortion. Integration also shows itself in relationships. Some people resonate with your expansion, others resist it. Notice how your body feels after time with someone. Do you feel open, lighter, more alive, or do you feel drained, tense, contracted? This is not judgment of their worth, but recognition of resonance. Stewardship may require you to set boundaries, not from superiority, but from devotion to the signal you are cultivating. Protecting your field is an act of love for yourself and for those who truly belong in your new frequency. Then there is work, the realm where many abandon their signal. But integration does not mean quitting everything. It means infusing what you already do with the frequency of who you are becoming. A conversation at work can be static-filled or signal-filled, depending on your tone. Even routine tasks can become transmission if you bring presence. The future self is not waiting in a new job or distant dream. It is waiting in how you show up right now. Integration requires rhythm. Elevated states fade if not renewed. Just as the body needs daily food, the field needs daily tuning. Morning breath, midday gratitude, evening love, these are anchors that carry resonance across hours. Without rhythm, the signal weakens under static. With rhythm, the signal becomes climate rather than weather. Integration is less about intensity and more about consistency. One powerful tool for integration is what I call the Guardian's Shortlist. This is a personal list of practices or reminders you keep close, 3 to 5 small actions that bring you back to signal quickly. It could be a phrase you whisper, a breath pattern you use, a song that resets your mood, a gesture like touching your heart. These are not grand rituals, but portable anchors. When static surges, the shortlist steadies you. It is your compass in ordinary hours. Remember, too, that integration is not measured by how blissful you feel, but by how stable you remain when challenges appear. The test is not in the easy moments, but in the pressure ones traffic, arguments, deadlines. In those moments, can you remember the dial? Can you choose expansion over contraction, even subtly? Each successful choice is integration made real. Each stumble is simply another chance to practice. And here is the beauty: the more you integrate, the less effort it takes. Signal becomes your default. Gratitude becomes reflex. Peace becomes baseline. You stop straining to remember because the frequency has woven itself into your nervous system. Integration has turned practice into identity. The music of your future self is no longer a station you tune into occasionally. It is the soundtrack of your days. So let integration be your devotion. Carry resonance into speech, into food, into friendships, into work, into every corner of ordinary life. Protect it with your shortlist, Renew it with rhythm. Honor it in small choices that seem invisible but accumulate into destiny. This is where transformation becomes real, not in visions of what could be, but in the lived consistency of what already is. Your future self does not wait for you at the mountaintop. It walks beside you in every step of the everyday path. Even as you integrate, echoes of the old frequency will return. Do not mistake them for failure. They are tests, final exams of sorts, designed to confirm that the new resonance is not just a temporary mood, but a stable foundation. These echoes show up as old triggers, familiar patterns, or people resurfacing from chapters you thought were closed. Their purpose is not to punish, but to prove. Are you ready to graduate? Think of it like learning to swim. First, you practice in calm water, then the waves return. The waves are not there to drown you, they are there to show you that you have learned to float. Every echo is a wave. Every challenge is an invitation to demonstrate mastery. And mastery is not about erasing the echo, but responding to it differently. When anger flares, the old self may have exploded. The future self breathes, grounds, and chooses peace. When fear whispers, the old self froze. The future self notices, thanks the fear for its warning, and steps forward anyway. When doubt insists, "You are not ready," the future self replies, "I choose expansion." The echo becomes the stage on which the new frequency reveals itself. Do not be surprised if the echoes come with intensity. The closer you are to stepping fully into signal, the louder the static may grow. This is not regression. It is the system's last attempt to keep you in the old station. Like a radio clinging to its default channel, it resists the retuning. But once you hold steady, once you refuse to abandon the signal, the old station fades. It cannot compete with a frequency you consistently embody. Here is the key: do not dramatize the echoes. If an old fear rises, do not say, "I am back at the beginning." Say instead, "This is the final review." If an old pattern tempts you, do not collapse into shame. Say, "This is my exam, and I am capable of passing." Exams are stressful, yes, but they mark the end of a course, not the start of one. Treat every echo as confirmation that graduation is near, and graduation means this: your baseline has shifted. Where once you had to fight for moments of gratitude, now gratitude flows naturally. Where once peace was rare, now peace is your default. The echoes prove that the new tone has taken root. You can hold it even under pressure. That is maturity of resonance. There is also a collective layer to this. When you graduate, you are not only stabilizing your own life, you are helping the field stabilize. Your coherence strengthens the web for others. And so your tests are never private. They are ripples through the collective, chances to anchor steadiness in the wider fabric of humanity. Each time you respond as your future self, you light the path for someone else still stumbling in static. But remember, graduation is not the end. It is the beginning of a new curriculum. Life will always invite you higher. Every threshold crossed opens another. Yet with each graduation, you carry more trust, more resilience, more clarity. You stop fearing tests because you understand their purpose. They are not punishments, they are portals. So when the echoes come, and they will meet them with reverence, breathe, remember the dial. Ask, how would my future self respond here? Then embody that response. In that moment, the echo dissolves, and the signal holds. You have passed. You are no longer a visitor to your new frequency. You are its resident. And this is what graduation truly means: not perfection, not never faltering again, but living as the person who knows how to return to signal, no matter what. It means you have proven to yourself, to life, and to the field that your resonance is trustworthy. It means you can carry the music of your destiny without dropping the tune. It means the world is ready for the version of you that once felt impossible but is now inevitable. So walk forward with quiet confidence. You have endured the corridor, tuned the dial, amplified the emotion, embodied the safety, and integrated the signal. Now you stand at the threshold, diploma in hand, frequency steady, heart clear. The echoes may knock once more, but you will not mistake them for home. Home is already within you. Home is the resonance you carry now, unshakable, undeniable. Welcome to graduation. Pause here. You have walked through corridors of static and signal, through tests and thresholds, and now you stand steady in a resonance that is unmistakably yours. The work is not about chasing the future anymore. It is about living it, carrying it with you into each ordinary moment until the extraordinary feels natural. Take a slow breath and notice the quiet strength already woven into your body. You do not need to grasp or strive for confirmation. It is already here in your steadiness, in the way you can hold peace even as echoes rise. This is the mark of transformation, not that life stops testing you, but that you stop abandoning yourself when the test comes. Let this truth soften the edges of your effort. You are enough, not someday, not when everything looks perfect. Now, the resonance of your future self is not a prize waiting on the horizon. It is the home you already inhabit, the music already playing through your cells. All that is left is to keep listening, keep honoring, keep allowing, and as you do, remember that your practice is not private. Every breath you take in coherence strengthens the field for all of us. Every choice to tune back to love is a gift laid quietly on the altar of humanity. You may never see the ripples, but they are real. Someone, somewhere, will find their own dial more easily because you chose to hold yours. So walk gently, but walk with conviction. Guard your frequency like sacred fire. Feed it with gratitude. Protect it with boundaries. Let it shine without apology. Not through force, but through presence. Not through striving, but through surrender. The universe has already conspired to bring you here. It will continue to conspire to keep you aligned. This is your invitation to rest in trust, to let peace be your default, joy your compass, and love your steady note. Carry this resonance into your days. Let it shape how you speak, how you love, how you simply exist. For in your very being, you are already the evidence. You are already the shift made flesh. And so it is.